Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Dave Rogers with the Authors Series. And today I have a privilege and an honor to be meeting with Richard Kiernicki. How are you today, Richard?
I'm having a great day, Dave. Thank you very much for asking. How about you?
It's great that we've got our red colors all over, red, black, and white. So it's going to be quite a wonderful opportunity to get insights into your latest book. Congratulations on your book. Would you do us a favor, share a little bit about you and why did you write the book?
Sure. So let me just say this. The book had very good intentions in the sense that I wrote it many years after being in the financial planning industry and having a great opportunity to partner with a man who taught me one very important thing that he was doing, which was called, or which he stated was differentiate yourself. And he did an outstanding job. He told us, don't buy milk, buy the cow, own the cow. And we grew a company from 9 million to 15 billion in assets under administration. So you might say that I had some great experience in putting together this financial portfolio and representing most of the cows in the financial services industry. And we had an amazing run. And it taught me how to build the machine to a much greater degree than academia did. And hence, one of the statements that my ex-partner, Michael, used to always say about me was that not having an MBA was probably my most valuable asset because I couldn't see how things couldn't work. So I flew by the seat of my pants. I enjoyed my financial planning career, and I ended that in 2003 when I just had the sense of intuition that the shit was going to hit the fan. And very fortunate for me that I did get out at that time, because a few years later, assets crumbled from 15 billion down to 3.8. And unfortunately, there wasn't a plan in place to kind of cover that possibility. And so I guess you could say that my academic ignorance left me with a relatively fat pocket.
Nice thing.
The book came about in 2008 when I was planning on returning to the business. And of course, with the luck that I have, I started thinking about writing the book on the 18th of October, 2008, when I read the Globe and Mail headline that said, wanted a new world economic order. And when I read the article, it was basically Sarkozy and Merkel who were talking about the fact that the financial system was truly broken and that it needed to be replaced. And when I read those words, I knew that the person who was going to replace the system was me. It took a little bit of while and took some time, but I actually figured out and if you will, started talking about something called time equity. And I believe that time is the great equalizer, the great synchronizer. And I believe it's something that we take too much for granted because we trade our time for money. And to be perfectly honest with you, what I've come to understand about the whole financial process is that it creates inequality. And in fact, Noam Chomsky, who's a very well-written and very well-voiced individual, but one of the things that he wrote about that helped me with my book was the fact that democracy and capitalism can't coexist. And when I have people like Chomsky talking to me about things of that particular nature, and that they're in essence telling me what I already know, that we must eliminate capitalism. So time equity started to become more of an actual vision and a reality instead of just a couple of words to put together. So in my book, I've actually defined time equity by using the definitions or part of the definitions of time and part of the definition of equity to combine the word. And it simply means that your time's no different than mine, Dave. My time's no different than yours. And if we can all come to that understanding, regardless of who we are, then we can create tremendous equality for everybody. And if we can create tremendous equality for people, we can create a phenomenal democracy, a true democracy, and something that will stand the test of time, whereas capitalism continues to have to be rewritten because of all the mistakes it makes. I mean, come on, any planet with 8 billion people that's trillions of dollars in debt, we got to figure out something's going on in the wrong direction.
Wow. So that's a very rich topic, time equity. It's a wonderful topic for people who are going to dive into that journey of both equity and time with you. In developing the book and putting it together, again, over a certain number of years, if you were to give some advice to new authors or aspiring authors, what morsel of information would you love to share with them?
You know, Dave, that's a really good question, and thank you. I hope it reaches the right ears. But I will say that the most important thing for any author is to truly listen to themselves and that small voice, the intuition that we come from. If we get stuck in our minds, we'll continue to write and rewrite because it's based on the ego relationship that we have. But if we take the ego out of the equation and we tune into our hearts, what ends up is, if you will, a natural flow. The vibration of thought comes in through the top of your head and it ends up on the keyboard and it ends up in letters, you know, in the printing of the book. So don't ever get discouraged. Just be ready to tune in every day to yourself so you can clear that space and get rid of the outside distractions, the ego, try to put it to rest and actually concentrate on really listening to what's going on inside your head and inside your heart.
That's great advice. Great tip for aspiring authors is to get it down on paper, allow your truth to come down on the paper. Brilliant, Richard.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Let's play a little bit for 2021. And if we can get this book of yours into somebody's hands, anybody's hands, whose hands would you like to get it into in 2021?
Well, first off, I would have to say that the person whose hands or the group of whose hands it would get into would be people who would unite with the idea and the concepts that are in the book. Because we're looking for, or I'm looking for, if you will, the ability to attract trailblazers and people who really want to make a change because they know there's something wrong. So I would love it to go into that hands. And you know, I will say this, Dave, in all honesty, the dissemination of the book was not my key in writing it. It was writing the book. I hope that there's other plans out there for the global dissemination.
Well, that's the part of this question that I would get. Some people do respond to the way that you just responded in the betterment of good. Yet I'm also being a little bit playful and give me a name or two that if we can get it into their hands, it would be like a high five just for the fun of it.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, who would, let's say, for example, I would love to get involved with anybody from any country that's supporting its people in the context of moving away from what people aren't moving away from today. So any countries and government officials, prime ministers, presidents of countries that know that there's something wrong but haven't had an ability to look at it. And I'm sorry, it doesn't really come to mind as to who would be named into that role. But yeah, I'm sorry, Dave, you got me stumped on this one today.
That's fine. That's what's beautiful about, again, you know that I'm a who person, so I ask it almost for myself, yet I also have a few who's that might benefit, but yet we'll have a follow-up on that discussion, maybe over a little eggnog closer to Christmas. Let's get you to share, how can people get a hold of your book? Where can they reach it? Now, we're going to put, of course, the comments down in the comment section and the links, yet maybe share a little bit of where can people get a copy of your book?
Well, to make things easy, what I did was I pulled together the majority of my adult life on my personal website, and that's richardmkiernicki.com. And if you want to go directly to the book, you hit the / and author. Okay, so Richard, spelled R-I-C-H-A-R-D, M, and Kiernicki, Kiernicki, .com. And you can go right to the author page and it will give you a ton of information about me, my career, how I've written on an unconventional basis about things that people need to know about their money. So it ties in, if you will, the book about time, and then it ties into all of the stuff that I learned from my mentors over 30 years in the financial business.
Beautiful. And so anyone who's really enjoyed this little dialogue between Richard and I, please check us out on, I'll be posting this on YouTube, Continual Shift. Add a comment, add a question. Richard and I'll be looking at this, and any questions we'll look to follow up in future interviews and discussions. And sort of the bonus little question for today to assist anyone who is watching today, Richard, is in the year 2020, who has inspired you, or which book or movie has hit you a little bit in 2020?
Well, Dave, you're going to laugh at this one. The one book that really, or actually a movie that really inspired me earlier this year is a 1937 movie called Lost Horizon. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's an amazing story about Shangri-La, okay, and our perceptions of what reality is. And it's a very brilliantly done piece. You can find it on Prime and a few other places, but it's well worth a night of popcorn and a glass of wine for sure.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for joining me today on the Author Series. Wishing you an absolutely amazing festive season.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate the time to be on. Great to see you as always, and look forward to our next time.
Ciao for now.